Welcome back to Africa 54. It has been a banner year for films about Black history. Here to tell us more is Mariama Diallo. Mariama.
Well, hello, Vincent, and happy Monday, if you can call it happy since it's a Monday. Well, I'll just choose to be happy anyways, are you? In any case, from Lee Daniels' biopic, The Butler, about the African-American butler who served 8 U.S. presidents, to Steve McQueen's historic drama, 12 Years a Slave, about a free man, Solomon Northup's abduction into slavery, Black-themed films are attracting large audiences and winning critical acclaim. VOA's Penelope Pulu tells us more.
I'm Cecil Gaines. I'm the new butler.
From the 1950s to the late 80s, Cecil Gaines served as a catalyst for social change by discreetly affecting the presidents he served.
I know your son is a freedom rider.
Turn the bus! Everybody out!
I never understood what you all really went through. You've changed my heart.
Cecil, based on the real butler, Eugene Allen, was not a social activist. He was a dignified servant, commanding respect. The Butler has gained Oscar buzz for its lead actor, Forest Whitaker, as well as supporting actress, Oprah Winfrey, and director Lee Daniels. It also did well at the box office, a sign that American audiences are drawn to stories about the African-American experience.
I was born a free man.
Can I get a kiss, please? Thank you.
Until the day I was kidnapped and sold into slavery.
Also getting Oscar buzz is director Steve McQueen's unflinching portrayal of American slavery. The movie, 12 Years a Slave, is based on Solomon Northup's true account of his abduction into slavery and life on a southern plantation under a brutal owner.
Man does how he pleases with his property.
Went down to the river Jordan.
Going to the plantations in the South and being in places where some of these things occurred. And that burning heat, the violence that he sees occur, you do get a glimpse of what the day-to-day must have been like.
Chiwetel Ejiofor embodies Northup and is considered an Oscar frontrunner.
Do you realize there's a war out there? The people are angry.
We are all angry. I am angry. You are angry. But you must show loyalty. Loyalty, Winnie Mandela.
Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, about the life of South African leader Nelson Mandela, is another drama that may also do well at the box office because of Mr. Mandela's fame and his recent death. The film exposes life during apartheid in South Africa, a different type of oppression that put the Black leader behind bars for 27 years.
Alone, what can you do? Together we have power.
Critical acclaim aside, George Mason University film historian Dexter Gabriel says the future of movies about the Black experience is linked to the box office.
Hollywood wants to make revenue. And it has these presuppositions about who goes to see movies and who will see what movies. And so it is very tepid about releasing certain movies that things will not bring in revenue.
Films like Black Nativity, based on the Broadway musical, show that African American movies can hold their own even when they are not period dramas. The film about family reconciliation during Christmas has an impressive cast, including Forest Whitaker, Angela Bassett, and Jennifer Hudson. And it's a hit. If films like this can draw crowds, then Hollywood is likely to follow. Penelope Pulu, VOA News, Washington.
Well, for more discussion on the renaissance of Black-themed film, we are joined by John Franklin. He's a senior manager at the Smithsonian Institution, National Museum of African American History and Culture. Mr. Franklin, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much. Pleased to be here.
Should I just call you John?
Please do.
Or do I have to say Mr. Franklin?
You can call me John.
That's good. Well, a few days left in 2013, and what a great year it was for, as you just saw in this package, for Black-themed movies. What do you make of it? Let's look at a few of them that were covered in this package, and we'll start with the 12 Years a Slave. What do you make of that one?
Well,
by British director Steve McQueen.
I thought it was really excellent. Over the years, we've seen many depictions of the period of slavery, and I think this is one of the most powerful and correct visions of what that era was like. It was brutal, it was hard, and it spans different parts of the country. What I particularly appreciated about Solomon Northup's story is that it's a true story, and it involves the city of Washington. He was actually imprisoned very near where we're sitting.
But it's amazing because I think when I just saw you about a month and a half ago, when you mentioned 12 Years a Slave and you asked me, have you seen it? I said, no, I haven't seen it. But where we were standing, it's about a 10-minute walk from here, you mentioned a building, you pointed at it. And you said that what the prison is actually, look at this building, it used to be right here.
Right. My office is located on 7th Street, and both east and west of 7th Street, there were 2 private prisons. Solomon Northup, as a free person, was kidnapped in Washington, and when he awakens in chains, he's in Williams Jail, which was in that prison on the west side of 7th Street. There's no historic marker there, but I've known from historical maps for many years that those 2 prisons were located so close to our offices.
How amazing is it that people just walk around you? And I live in D.C., we work in D.C., we take the metro, get to work, get back to home. How many people do you think know that? They pass by a building and they don't realize how much history that building, space actually
So
had.
much history occurred around where we are all over the country, and there are only some places where there are historic markers. But we at the National Museum of African American History and Culture are trying to bring this history to life, not only in Washington, but around the country.
We're actually going to come back to that in a few minutes, but let's, I just want to touch on the movie itself. And for me, actually watching it, it was pretty hard to watch.
Right.
And I just wonder, in a sense, I cried the whole time.
Well, there are different forms of brutality.
Yes.
The destruction of families.
Yes.
Both Solomon is torn from his wife and children, and then another actress at the beginning of the film is torn away from her children. So there's that kind of agony. And then there's the physical punishment. Solomon Northup and others, if they don't make a certain quota of picking cotton, they're beaten daily.
Yes.
And then,
I think that was the hardest part, one of the hardest parts. I mean, there was just the whole movie. But the beating, I just couldn't take.
And then the sexual violence as well.
Yes.
When you have all 3 of those forms of violence, it makes for a very brutal film. But I've now seen it twice. I went the first time to see it alone. You should not see this film alone. And the second time I went with my wife and cousin, because you need someone to see it with and discuss it with. And the second time I saw it, it's actually also beautifully filmed.
Absolutely.
And so you have this horror and beauty occurring at the same time, which makes it a very powerful experience.
I have just one more question regarding this movie before we move on to the next one, which is that after I saw it, as you said, I came in and was talking to everybody about it. You know, everyone needs to see it. But also what I realized was that I talked to certain people who told me that this is hard to watch, and they've lived through it, their grandparents have lived through it, and they don't really think they have the strength to sit down and watch it.
Just yesterday, I was talking to people about the film, and they said they're not ready to see it. They know that it's brutal, they know that it's true, but they have to wait. My wife felt the same way until she saw it, and now she's encouraging everyone to see it as well.
Well, we don't have a lot of time, and let's touch on the Butler real quick. I know there were so many movies this year, from you know, the Best Man's Holiday to the Medea series to Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. But I want to touch real quick on definitely on the Butler by
the
director
Butler is
Lee
so
Daniels.
fascinating for those of us who've lived through the period that the Butler covers, because the first president I knew was Eisenhower. Through Kennedy, this Butler sees Washington and America through that time period and how our society changes. What is very interesting, of course, is the conflict between his perspective of his life as an African-American male and his son's. and they grow up in different time periods and they have different values.
John,
yes.
I would love to touch on it, but you're here. I have to touch on the African American Museum that's opening up next year, and I don't want to go through the whole segment without having that, because it's important to preserve history, to be able to talk about things that happen, and I want you to touch on that real quick, and I'm sure we'll have you over to talk more about these movies. Go ahead.
Sure. This museum will open at the base of the Washington Monument in late 2015. It's a $500 million project. We've raised over half of the money, half from Congress. We are still raising money on the private side. We're developing 12 exhibitions on history and culture of African Americans, from arriving from Africa with knowledges and skills, through the slavery period, through the civil rights era, up until President Obama's first inauguration. We're looking at the music, we're looking at film, we're looking at theater, we're looking at actors, we're looking at the food that we ate, the clothes that we wear. We're looking at the military history, sports history. So it'll be a comprehensive look at the African American experience.
Well, I absolutely can't wait. And it's in the heart of Washington. I'm sorry this segment was so short, Mr. Franklin. Thank you so much. John Franklin is a senior manager at the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of African American History and Culture. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Back to you, Vincent.
Well, thank you very much.